Hi there, everybody.
Hey.
Welcome to Pharmacists Out of the Box. I'm Heather.
I'm Bryn.
And we are so excited today to share this very interesting gentleman with you. I think you're going to find his story and his current career just very intriguing. He's found a unique niche for himself in the pharmacy and the medical world, actually. And his name is Alex Evans. And I'll let him tell his story, but he's basically a part-time pharmacist in a hospital, but also has a side gig where he does medical writing, and I think he's trying to grow that side of him. So we're really excited to hear his story today. So hi, Alex. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So tell us more. Tell us about your career, from pharmacy school till now. What was that?
Yeah, so I'm from North Carolina originally, so I went to University of North Carolina for pharmacy school, and pretty much the entire time I was in pharmacy school, I actually had dreamed of Hawaii. So a year after graduating, I did take a job in Hawaii in long-term care, and worked on the Big Island for 3 years and on Maui for 2. So I managed a community pharmacy in Kihei, and then decided to move back to the mainland, mainly for cost of living and other things, but am addicted to scuba diving, so I dove a lot while I was there. And landed in Jacksonville, Florida, mainly because I wanted to still have access to the diving and be near the water, and also be somewhat close to home. And so, after that point, I took a job as a manager for an outpatient pharmacy in a hospital. And really, I think I saw a whole lot of opportunities for us to partner with inpatient pharmacy and with case management and nursing, and got to know a lot of other people within the health system, and kind of started doing a whole lot of projects on the side to improve quality in the hospital as well as in our own department. And kind of around the same time, started doing some medical writing as a hobby, initially with Pharmacy Times. So it was one of my first recurring gigs in writing. And about a year ago, decided that I really wanted to do more of it and start branching into that more. I personally love being a community pharmacist. I never had any intention of writing full-time, but I did want the ability to have more job flexibility, the ability to work and at least earn some income remotely and things like that. So about a year ago, started doing that, and now landed a few pretty big clients. One is for a Naplex review course, and then also just started writing for GoodRx. So got a couple posts up with GoodRx, and in July had asked to go part-time at the hospital just because I wanted to have more time to pursue writing. And my boss had actually put me into a project management role, I think primarily just to continue to pursue the projects that I had already been doing. So I've been doing that since July.
That's pretty cool.
That is cool. I didn't even know you could write for GoodRx. I'm used to getting their coupons at the pharmacy, but I didn't know you could actually, do they
actually have Yeah, they do. They have a really popular website for consumer health.
Okay.
And actually, this year we're nominated as Best Health Website of the Year. So, they're really. I've had a great experience working with them and have some fantastic editors there.
I think for our audience, we might want to take a step back. What is medical writing? Or describe for our audience who might not even know what we're talking about. What does that mean? What does that consist of in the world?
You mean to tell me our audience hasn't picked up a Pharmacy Times magazine? What rock have they been living under?
But I think people don't have that concept of where it comes from. And see, that's just one type of medical writing, right, Alex? I think
it is. Yeah. And so, I think you could almost do a podcast just on what is medical writing, because it's such a wide field. And not just pharmacists, but physicians get into medical writing. A lot of people who come out of a PhD in maybe immunology or cell biology might get into medical writing and working for a medical communications agency. And so there's a lot of kind of marketing writing for the drug companies. So somebody needs to create the presentations and the brochures. They have to be visually appealing, but they have to be scientifically accurate too. Somebody has to write the package inserts. Somebody has to actually submit the new medications for approval, not only through the FDA, but through Health Canada, through the European Medicines Agency, and PMDA, for example, in Japan. So there's a lot of different regulatory agencies. They all have their own approval process, and that generally takes a strong healthcare background plus experience writing in the field. So there's consumer health is like the Good RX, and there's provider blogs, and there's health economics and outcomes research writing, looking at cost effectiveness of therapy. So it's an enormous field, and I'm sure I haven't even touched on nearly all the fields. So for anybody listening who is a medical writer, maybe they can comment as well on what type of medical writing they do.
Well, I kind of think too, Alex, like when we Google, I don't know, diabetes and diet or whatever. I mean, I just think about all the things that come up from the web on diabetes and diet, right? And somebody has to write for all those places, even WebMD, for example, just to take something technical and put it into lay terms. So I think there's tons of opportunity. When I looked into it, I was amazed at like, wow, there's a whole gamut of, like you said, like the softer writing, like blogs and things like that, all the way to that technical, like get a drug approved through the FDA writing. So I think there's huge opportunity. It sounds like it to me.
Did you have a friend in this? Like, how did you kind of find this?
So initially, it's kind of funny. When I was on Maui, I kept getting tourists coming to me telling the exact same story. So, oh my gosh, I left my bottle of pills in my checked bag and my airline lost my luggage. Can you transfer this from Boston for me? And then the person behind them would say, oh, I was at the condo and I only took 7 pills with me for a 7-day trip and I dropped one in the sink. So I actually heard that. Can you transfer my pills from Idaho? And the person behind them had another story. Oh, I'm from Missouri, and this and that happened, and even a family member got injured, so we had that happen, like injured on the beach or something, and I took 10 pills with me, and now I need more because I'm going to be staying longer. And prior to that, to coming to Maui, I'd written for a few peer-reviewed publications, so I had done that before. I had no idea you could get paid for writing, though, because you don't get paid for peer-reviewed publications. And so I pitched it to Drug Topics, and just out of the blue, basically just emailing the editor, I want to write an article on how to keep these tourists out of trouble while they're on Maui so they don't have to come see me.
And not Hawaii with your meds. Yeah.
What'd you say?
I said tips to traveling to Hawaii with your meds.
Yeah, that's right. And you can look it up in Drug Topics. It's still on their website, my very first article outside of peer-reviewed publications. And then they offered me money for it. And kind of a light bulb went off, like, oh, wow, you can get paid to do this stuff? What have I been doing writing for peer-reviewed papers? So I wrote for Drug Topics, and then shortly after I had moved to the mainland, so things got a little hectic with moving and all, and kind of came back to writing and wanted to do more of it, and reached out to Pharmacy Times, and they basically just allowed me to open up a contributor page and just start contributing articles. And so then from there it became basically a side hustle. Like, it was a hobby. It was a fun thing to do. I enjoy writing, and I was getting a little money doing it. And then over time realized, at this point I kind of have a portfolio and I might be able to really make a go of this. And I think we all know that the threats to community pharmacy, unfortunately, with automation and other things, and us needing to find other ways to provide value to the healthcare system, which of course I think there are many avenues in community pharmacy for that. And I still want to have a career in community pharmacy, but medical writing and medical communications is another enormous way that pharmacists can provide value to the healthcare system and get paid for it. And so really wanted to start branching out into that. So over the course of several months, I was just working really, really hard, 50 to 60 emails to get one response type of legwork, and landed a few large clients, and then got to the point where not only could go part-time, but really needed to go part-time in order to keep it up.
So 50 or 60 emails you'd send out pitching your ideas or how you could be of service to different people to write for.
Yeah. And so, I think that's one thing, not just with medical writing, but with anybody wanting to redefine their careers and branch into new things. That's the hardest barrier, is you have to work really hard and really consistently over sometimes an extended period of time, with a lot of frustration to get those results. But I would just encourage all the other pharmacists out there that are not only wanting to pursue medical writing, but any new field, whether it's in pharmacy or not, just encourage them to stick with it, because to me, that frustration and that hard work is part of the process.
Exactly. And we got through pharmacy school. I mean, that's how we got the great career we did. If we all think back to becoming a pharmacist, we had to put in that hard time, and we had to work really hard and keep our focus and keep our drive when it was hard to keep going. And, so I think a lot of pharmacists, it's good to get that perspective again of, remember when you achieved this last big thing.
Yeah, it can be done again.
Yeah, you just put in the extra effort and don't quit. Like I know there were times in pharmacy school where I can't do this.
Yeah.
And
of course.
Up and keep trying, keep putting yourself out there. And I just wanted to mention too, because some of the 50 emails, that's not just 50 emails. I know for me, Alex, because I've tried to tiptoe my way into this area as well. And some of the people want you to have, when you submit an idea to them, they want you to have the title, maybe the bullet points, like an outline, and then what references you would use, kind of almost like have an outline of your article that you present to them. I don't know if you do a lot of that, but some of these emails that they want from you are pretty extensive for you to maybe not even hear back.
Yeah, that's really true, and that increases the amount of time. So a good example of a company that has that submission process that I've written for is freece.com, and you could actually go on their website and you could see, if you were to Google FreeC submission or contributor or something of that nature, you could see that they do actually accept pitches for new articles, and you can write for them, but you do need to have a good idea of what you're going to write about. And you need to have clear objectives so that they can meet accreditation standards for continuing education. So there is a lot of legwork involved. And then I think with medical writing too, it's a new skill. So like what you mentioned with pharmacy school, to some extent, you're going to go through that again in medical writing. Communicating healthcare information and writing is a very different skill than practicing as a pharmacist.
Absolutely. So I guess I have a lot of questions.
I know. I was just also thinking, are you tying your writing into your compliance aspect? And is that compliance stuff just with community type pharmacies?
Yeah, so I guess I could step back. So recently I started pharmacy compliance specialist. I started a website at pharmcompliance.com. And really wanted to focus on community pharmacy compliance, especially in this role that I've had for the past about 3.5 years at the health system. I've had the chance to see a lot of the back end of community pharmacy that maybe chain pharmacists, when I was working for a chain, never had the chance to see, because the corporate office takes care of it for you. And just to put that out there, that's a wonderful thing. So I think when you manage an independent, you will see just how much work your chain pharmacies are putting in the background to have things
go for an independent, right?
Yeah, you wear all sorts of like hats for independent. It is crazy.
Yeah, you really do. And I'd spent a lot of time, of course, on writing for blogs and other things, and so it felt like I not only had the experience from a compliance standpoint, but the writing experience, and just wanted to start that initially even as a creative outlet. When it's your own website, you can do whatever you want. So it's a fun creative outlet and a chance to teach not only other pharmacists, but maybe students, things that I see that are frequent misunderstandings, frequent misses with compliance, things of that nature in the community pharmacy.
Do you work with any in the Jacksonville or Florida area?
Work with
pharmacies, like with the compliance, or?
Right now it's primarily the website.
Okay.
So it's like a resource. Maybe you've created a resource for people.
Yeah. And also kind of creating forms and templates that I felt like I had rewritten every single time I switched pharmacies. So I started creating those types of forms and templates too. So
I know my Google Docs are like covered in different templates I've
yeah,
created.
yeah. And when I looked at it out there, there really aren't that many companies that are creating those standardized forms for people to just download and use in the community pharmacy. It's like we have our gray market of homemade forms that we pass around
Yeah, no,
of varying quality too. So
yeah. Why recreate the wheel if there's something
Right.
good? Yeah.
yeah,
So you talked about, Alex, going back to what you're currently doing. I think about like our audience and what they might be curious of, and you talked about emailing people and those 50 emails. How do you, so kind of a twofold question, how would somebody who's getting into this find, who do I email, or how do I even find 50 people to email?
yeah.
So what would you suggest, or how do you find who you want to connect with?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that not just for medical writing, but for many new types of careers and for anybody wanting to branch out, is to start seeing every single vendor and every single healthcare related company as a potential employer. And
That's
if
so
you do
good.
that, the number of companies are unlimited. So in the health system that I work for, somebody has to take care of the recalled medications and the expires. Somebody that runs like the Pyxis machine, for example. So that is owned by a company that hires pharmacists. Pharmacy dispensing systems hire pharmacists. So if you start thinking in that way, there are enormous opportunities. And especially if you don't really see yourself as being restricted to a job that just has the job title of pharmacist, if you look more at the aspect of what kind of skills did I learn from the pharmacy program and from my current job experience that can add value to that company. So I think that's one of the first big things for me. And then looking at it in terms of medical writing, everybody that owns a blog needs writers. Everybody, so GoodRx was an example of that. I honestly, to this day, I don't quite remember if they had a job ad or not. I might have just emailed them, but regardless, now I'm getting the chance to write for them, and not just as a client, but because they have such excellent editorial standards, it's even pushing the boundaries of me. Like it's allowing me to really branch out and refine my consumer health writing too.
Well, that brings up a good question. I have another question. So can you go to like Indeed and search medical writer to find a job?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can go medical writer on Indeed or Glassdoor or Monster, any of those. And I would also recommend, like, for example, with Glassdoor, they allow you to save companies to your profile. Anytime you think of a company, like, for example, if you were an inpatient pharmacist and you know the company that makes the Pyxis machine, maybe that company should be saved in your Glassdoor profile so that you can easily check jobs with them later. And you do that over time. Again, consistency is the key. As you think of them, adding them, you're going to have a large list of companies that you can pull from.
Do you personally keep like an Excel sheet, or you like the Glassdoor method, or keeping track of like potential leads or potential clients?
I think when I was really working on getting new clients, I was mostly using Indeed and Glassdoor, but I kind of like to handwrite things. I'm a list type of person. So,
Check them off, get that
yeah,
dopamine.
yeah, exactly. Writing down when I replied to them and stuff like that. So.
To me, it was like I did an Excel sheet because I, like you talked about, I emailed a bunch of people and then I would forget what idea I had emailed them. So if they ever came back and said, "Oh, great idea," I'd be like, "Oh, what did we talk about?" To find out.
Yeah,
So I kind of did
yeah,
that.
that's a good idea.
Is there a resource, Alex, that if someone, a student or a pharmacist, was interested in learning what, more in general, just as a basic resource about medical writing, do you have any thoughts about, is there a book? Is there a website? Is there
Learn by
a
fire.
group, a Facebook group or anything you would suggest to learn more?
I definitely think there's some learning by fire with that. Yeah, sometimes you just got to get your articles torn up, and it's not only with with medical writing in general, but with every new client, they're all going to have different expectations. And sometimes your article just has to get torn up for you to learn those expectations. And so that happened with me with the NAPLEX review course. The way that I had formatted my very first one, the editor came back and basically said, "What is this?" And it was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'll rewrite it." And then I go back and look at their guidelines and how did I miss that? And you just go back and you redo it, and now things are fine. And so that's certainly part of the process. For kind of general medical writing, I think the American Medical Writers Association, to me, has been a valuable resource. They not only have a really good jobs board with jobs that you don't see posted in other places, but they do offer free, for members, free kind of podcast or online learning modules. And then they also have some other pay courses. So for example, regulatory writing, they do have coursework in that, if that's something that folks are interested in.
So you talked a little bit about the challenges, a few of your challenges. What have been some of your challenges in getting into medical writing that you've faced so far?
Yeah, I think, probably the hardest thing was having to really go hard for an extended period of time to get to the breaking point. There's, with anything, there's like a breaking point. When you're a student, you feel like, I remember on my inpatient pediatrics rotation as a student, I was overwhelmed and felt like, how am I ever going to be a pharmacist? I don't know any of this. Dosing vancomycin in the NICU and things that I probably still have no business doing as a community pharmacist. But it was just, random facts about kids that would come up. And so that's just an example that was overwhelming. And then over time, you look back and you're like, oh, wow, I'm a pharmacist now. But there's not any one day where you all of a sudden wake up and you think that you're, oh, all of a sudden now I'm good enough to be a pharmacist. It's just more of a continual thing. And so I think going with medical writing, going long enough and pushing it hard enough to get to the breaking point of like, oh, now I have a portfolio and I understand how to work with the editors and things. That was probably the hardest thing for me.
And with so many things being digital, what does a portfolio look like? Is it just a collection and you hand pick things you send them, or is it still like, I know you like paper.
Yeah, I do like paper, but I don't use it for my portfolio.
Is it online?
I do, yeah. So that's one of the most important things. When you get enough articles to create a portfolio, you really need to get an online visual portfolio. I personally like Journo Portfolio a lot, is the name of the website. It's really inexpensive. It creates beautiful portfolios and it's easy to use. And the majority of clients that I've seen that I've actually gotten have looked at my portfolio, and you can tell because they also have analytics where they'll at least say somebody from, they'll name the city and state, looked at your portfolio, and you kind of know like, oh, they're based out of whatever city and they just looked at my portfolio. Even if they haven't responded to your email yet, they've seen your email. So I think that was one of the times when one of the big breakthroughs for me was when I put a portfolio together.
Okay. And then what does your typical day or week look like? I know it's got to be hectic. It sounds like you have a family, 3 different primary pharmacy jobs that you're doing. So
yeah, it definitely can be. About 2 to 3 days a week, I work over at the hospital as a project manager for our pharmacy projects. And so that's everything from compliance and finance to launching a prescription drug dispensing kiosk in one of the physician clinics. So it's kind of runs the range. And then 2 days a week I spend over at a co-working space, and that's when I get the writing done.
Is that where you're at now?
Yeah, that's where I am now. Yeah.
So do you rent that space? You pay to rent?
I do, yeah. Yeah.
So you do that versus doing it at home?
Yeah, with a 2-year-old
Yeah.
at home.
I wanted you to bring that up.
It's hard to do that.
To even
Yeah.
pack your lunch, like, let me just like stay in this bubble and just stay there and write.
Yeah, you just do that. Yeah. And thankfully, most of the spaces, this one included, have large common areas, and you can just rent the common area, so it's a little more open and has a really nice atmosphere for it.
Creative. You need to have that creative atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm kind of in the phone booth right now for the podcast, but normally it's it's kind of a common space that's really open.
And then our famous question, so you have all this work you do, it sounds like you have a very busy life.
That's like 5 days a week. So you keep it Monday through Friday?
I do, and if you really want to pursue medical writing or any new business, I do think it's really important it is treated as a business, that going to the co-working space is a work day, and you'd have to deliver to the editors on time. You have to deliver high quality work, those kind of things. And so that's just one important piece of advice for anybody wanting to get into a new career field, is you have to keep the clients happy or you won't have any.
Exactly. True. So how do you fill your cup then? How do you take care of you and your self-care? What do you do for fun?
In Hawaii, it was diving.
Yeah.
I don't do that.
You missed that.
Yeah.
It's not the same in Jacksonville.
Yeah. We have the Florida Springs here, but not quite as much diving. Yeah, riding my bike, and I play jazz piano, so I do that once a month over at a kind of a coffee shop.
Oh, wow.
A little jazz duo. So yeah, I do that. So,
you just went to a concert last night.
Yeah, last night, and they had the jazz. There's like a double layer like jazz piano.
Really?
So cool. He was like the happiest guy. I wish I remembered his name. He had like the smile this whole time, and I was like, wow.
He loves what he does.
Of course he was. He was playing music.
I know. He's like getting his foot going too. Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Are you okay, Alex, with us putting your contact information? Make sure you send us, so whatever, your email, your webpage, whatever it is that you want to share with everyone, and we'll certainly put it in the comments. And, that way our audience can connect with you.
But I am curious, do you actually dive in Jacksonville anywhere or no?
I have been in the Springs a few times.
Okay.
Florida Springs, yeah. You can dive off the coast. I haven't been there yet.
Okay.
It's about an hour drive still for me to the coast, and the boat leaves at 6:30 in the morning. So,
ooh, goodness, that's early.
I hadn't made it out there yet.
Cool. Well, we really appreciate the information you've shared, and it definitely sounds like you're extremely busy. That is very exciting.
But it seems like a very unique opportunity. And when I heard about it, I'm like, wow, there's so much writing out there that people just don't even think about, that somebody has to contribute to. So thank you so much for highlighting it, and good luck with everything. Are you hoping to turn this into a full-time job eventually? Is that where you want to go with it?
Probably not for me with the medical writing, but I will say there's plenty of opportunity to turn it into a full-time job for anyone who wants to. Oh. But I enjoy having one foot in healthcare too, and patient care too. So, yeah.
Good for you. Well, thank you so much for your time, and good luck. And
thank you.
And we'll make sure we share all the information for you. I was even going to make sure we include like the portfolio information that you liked, and the writing association too, just because they might be interested in that.
Any upcoming 2020 goals for you or plans?
2020. So my wife is actually Japanese, so I've been learning Japanese for a very long time. So we're hoping to kind of do a sabbatical there in a couple of years. So I want to continue to really study Japanese hard, so I'm better prepared for it.
I wish I had done that. I don't know if I told you I lived in Japan for 3 years. I think I may have told you that. I don't know.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I wish I had learned Japanese. I just learned Skoshi.
Oh, yeah.
Ask for a fork, and, how much is this? Things like that. But no, that's really amazing. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And thank you for your inspiration, because I think ultimately what we always share with people is just putting yourself out there. And that's kind of how you mentioned it too. Like, just keep putting yourself out there. And I'm one of those ooey gooey people that really believes the universe is there. God is there to help you, but you have to put yourself out there. And then that's the only way you're going to find where your next direction is going, is to keep putting yourself out there, and good things will happen. Follow your heart and good things happen.
Definitely.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for joining us. I'm Heather.
I'm Bryn.
And join us next time on Pharmacists Out of the Box.
Bye, guys.
Bye.